While promoting her latest movie, EGOT winner Viola Davis said, quote, "I don't think every movie you do has to be considered for an Academy Award. I wanted to do something that families could watch together, something popular," end quote. Now, while that is an acknowledgement that maybe she does too many artsy movies that are critically beloved, I think it's also an acknowledgement that this one is a stinker. Let's talk about G20. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new movie G20. This is an Amazon Prime original. It just dropped a few days ago and has been #1 on the Amazon charts since then. So obviously, a lot of eyeballs on this, and yes, maybe that lends some credence to the Viola Davis quote I just said, that she wanted to do something popular. And now in terms of something families could watch together, I'm not sure. This is not the kind of movie my family would have sat down to watch. This is very violent, very expletive-laced, but okay, to some, I guess this is family viewing. And, you know, she's on the poster strapping the gun. She is the action hero of this. Certainly something maybe that we would not expect from the EGOT winner, Viola Davis. You know, she does a lot of critically loved movies and such. But here's the thing. She's also done the Suicide Squad movies. Let's not forget that. And the Peacemaker TV show. Let's not forget that she's already been a part of this big blockbuster action franchise for DC Comics. So I find the quote a little bit interesting because I feel like she didn't necessarily have to defend herself while doing the Suicide Squad movies. But I think with this movie, she felt like she did have to because I think she knows that it's not so great. So we'll talk about this here in just a second. First, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a subscriber already for Dan Reviews It, thank you so much for that. I love it when you guys return and check out my videos. But if you're not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell as well. You can just like this video or comment below, too. That stuff helps the channel out tremendously. And I do try to post videos just about every day, so there's always a lot to check out here on the channel. All right, so let's get to G20. This is obviously taking place at the G20 summit, and Viola Davis plays the president of the U.S., Danielle Sutton, and she is an Army veteran, so there's, you know, her combat history that will come in handy. And she essentially becomes the target of an attack during the G20 conference, and that attack led by Edward Rutledge, who is played by Anthony Starr from The Boys. He is a former Australian Special Forces soldier, so he's got some combat experience as well, and now he is a terrorist leader. Also supporting in this movie, you have, as the rest of the Sutton family, Anthony Anderson plays the first gentleman, and their kids, Marseille Martin, of course, who you know as Anthony Anderson's daughter as well in Blackish. And then Demetrius Sutton, played by Christopher Farrar. That is their son. So the four of them are at the conference together. The kids were having some trouble in school and whatever, so they decided, let's, you know, pack up the kids too and bring them to the conference, give them a little world culture experience, etc. And that's where things take a turn and kind of break out here. You also have Clark Gregg, Elizabeth Marvel, and Ramon Rodriguez in supporting roles. All right, so here's the deal. This movie's bad. Now, it's not like the worst action movie. It's not even necessarily the stupidest action movie, but let's just say if Viola Davis wasn't doing a lot of heavy lifting here, because she is an excellent actress, and an actress like her, you know, and Meryl Streep is another one. You know, there's a few actors and actresses in this category of Denzel Washington, I guess, too. Even in like a bad movie, there's a bad script, you know, a premise that's been done to death, etc., etc. There are a few people that can really still elevate that material, not to necessarily good, but to watchable. And you know, I can certainly give examples for those other people too. You know, like Equalizer 2, for example. Not a great Denzel movie, but his performance, you know, lends some credence to that. And I think Viola Davis is the same. I mean, there's a reason that she's always nominated for things. She is, you know, just by herself a masterclass in acting. Now, that being said, she can only elevate it so far. And Anthony Starr is good too. You know, he's obviously, you know, one of the big villains in The Boys. And, you know, here he is sort of leaning into that a little bit. So he's not necessarily giving us, you know, anything crazy different. But, The two of them, going back and forth is fun to watch sporadically. I'll give it that. But in terms of the writing for this, this is just a paint by numbers of an action movie. And not only that, an action movie where the president is in peril, has to maybe take some matters into her own hands. And that is a trope that we've seen in several movies. There's the White House Down series. You have, or no, the White House Down was just the one movie. What's the other? The Has Fallen series. Because first it was Olympus Has Fallen, the first one, then London Has Fallen, and whatever else. So there's already been, sort of a handful of these. And Viola Davis, yeah, she's great. But I think it's pretty obvious why she made that quote that I said that, every movie she does doesn't have to be considered for an Academy Award. I think she thinks this is a bad movie, and she's right. She can elevate it a little bit. But then let's talk about some of the other elements of this movie. So you have Anthony Anderson and Marseille Martin, which I get it. She was the daughter on Blackish. Anthony Anderson was the father, so they already have sort of this chemistry, I guess. But it's interesting. I don't think I've seen Marseille Martin as an adult outside of the last maybe season or two of Blackish. She might have been 17 or 18 at that point. The only other big thing I can think of her being in was the movie Little, which she co-produced and is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the youngest producer of a film. I think she was maybe 13 at that time. But we watched her grow up on Blackish, and she's one of these actresses that I think was cute as a kid actress here. And again, the script is not good, so maybe this isn't all her fault, but she is giving a really bad performance, which is interesting because she's worked with Anthony Anderson most of her life. So you'd think that, their rapport would be a little better. But look, it's a bad script. And I've said it, 100 times already in just this video. But so there's only so much a person can elevate that. I don't think she's a good enough actress to be able to elevate it. And to be fair, neither is Anthony Anderson. He's fun, and I like watching him want to tell the truth. And, he was good in Blackish. But like, when I think of an actor with gravitas, no, it's Viola Davis. It's not Anthony Anderson at all. So they're doing nothing to sort of help with the lifting of the material. This movie does have some okay action sequences. I will give it that. And again, her chemistry with Anthony Starr, as the villain is decent. But this is just so by the numbers that I can't even give it an average grade, but I will say the Davis performance does lift it a little bit, as you might expect, with her wonderful gravitas. So I will give G20 a C minus. It's still a negative grade for sure. Elevated a bit by her performance, but what a terrible, terrible script that we've seen done over 100 times. But look, it is #1 on Amazon. Obviously, a lot of people flocking to this. So if you haven't checked it out yet, it is available on Amazon Prime. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I'll see you next time.